Hey everyone, it's Will, GamerDad, with another video for you. So this video was a long time coming, and so in this video we're actually going to show the other areas available in the Another Dungeon Omegapolis, hard level 80. I'll put a link below to my first foray or walkthrough, after which as you keep on exploring, you will unlock new areas and new stages. And so you'll be able to farm new materials which you can use to craft and forge new armor. Now, if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. I also do have a Patreon account for those who want to support me this way. So keep in mind that in some of these clips, you will see our Corbo Sidekick have advanced punching as well as digging abilities, and the reason for that is you will have to explore completely through the game and some of the side quests in order to unlock it. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm not going to put all the different clips in order to do so. I'm still kind of working through some other content, so hopefully if you haven't, make sure you check the AE Wiki. It should be able to lead you through the different steps, not only to get the upgrades for Corbo, but also there is a so-called secret sidekick called Morty, which you can unlock as you finish the story, which I personally haven't done yet. Anyways, back to the action. So again, you will have to buy different items from the Omegapolis mid layer, and so initially you start off in the kind of in the underbelly, and then as you're able to buy certain licenses or certain passes, then it will say, oh, it will be unlocked for you for the next time. And so make sure you do buy all those different items. Also, if you have been gathering in the first area, it's very similar to the underworld, where you have to explore the first area, get all the items, the sparkles, as well as pick up one certain item in the very beginning. And that fragment is something that you can store up to 5 of, and you can use it in any of the 3 stages to kind of summon up a phase shift. And you really want to do that if you are trying to farm certain materials for certain gear or certain armor, because each of the 3 stages correspond to one of the 3 pieces of armor. I believe the forest is for the bracelet, for example. The spark forge should be for the necklace, and then finally the tree of life should be for the ring, unless I'm mistaken. And they are unique materials, so you will have to rotate evenly through the 3 different areas. Try to use phase shift as often as you can, and even them out as you are upgrading or forging or making or buying those weapons, and see what you're missing, and thereby activating the appropriate one as needed. So it's a little bit hard to keep track of, but I just kind of try to recommend to go back to the Nopa'u Emporium and kind of upgrade as you can, and of course going to the armor shop and buying how many copies you want to get. And I'll show you the stats or the abilities of each of the armor at the end of the video, along with some other goodies that I found along the way. So in terms of phase shift, one other thing I did notice is that they do randomly occur without you having to activate it, which is quite interesting. Sometimes you can, if it wasn't already active, you can summon a phase shift using 5 of those fragments. However, many times you can wander randomly in as you're doing your normal rotations, and you may find one indeed already active, in which case you can save that 5 pieces for the next time. Now, in each of the new areas, so this one is the Spark Forge. It does have 4 treasure chests as well, and to my understanding, they do not have any chance of chance scripts. There's only one area that you can get chance scripts, and it's very similar to the future Garalea kind of thing, where you can buy a ticket of sorts and then wander to a special kind of horror and boss fight stage, where the chest right before the boss fight should have a chance of getting a chance script. Mind you, I have not gotten one to drop yet, so let me know in the comments below if you have gotten one to drop. All I've gotten is the standard high-class scrolls, Jadeites, and other garbage belongs in the garbage, which at this point is not necessary for me. I would say that if you're still relatively in the early or mid game, where you are still lacking a lot of high-class scrolls for quick upgrading, for XP gain, or missing Jadeites to kind of side grade or upgrade those, shared Grasta for some of those higher end Grasta, then I can understand that you can still use those. But for me in the end game, I have more than enough. And if you really need it, don't forget you can use Zed Steel from Kid to get a chance of getting those as well. So this is the team I've settled on for all 3 areas because, as another subscriber mentioned, you want to make sure you have at least one physical attacker just in case you run into someone who knows or absorbs magic. And you do run into stages later on where some of the enemies do absorb either fire or magic, in which case Garyu is not going to be useful. Keep in mind that AS Chio can do damage, but mainly used as a support unit to apply pain and poison and mental focus for Garyu. And Ultra Tuva is there for 0 MP farming. She can do some modest damage, but mainly her damage will be increased during another zone, and we don't have access to one-turn zones with Pierce or Earth in this stage. Technically, I could VC in AS Chio to set that. However, in this case, you're not going to do that and waste more time through the dungeon. So this is my kind of like my one-click team, although it's not a 1-1-1 strategy where you just have one move. All these enemies are at least level 110 or higher. So I do need one turn, usually 3 or 4 hits. In this case, most of the time, your AS Chio Korai Jewel followed by a True Manifested Garyu with the Blast of Inferno should take care of things quite nicely. And so in our, I guess, first clear of the Spark Forge, you do have that boss Gidrun, I guess, or Gidrun, and very vulnerable to fire, no problem at all. And finally, my first Ash Tier Light. Remember that Ash Tier Light will be similar to the other green key dungeons, about 1 in 4 chance or 25% chance. Now, one thing that was preventing me from showing you this video earlier is that in order to unlock some of the content in the newest dungeon, you will need golden screws. Golden screws is something you can use to buy certain key items. However, you can also use them to trade in certain things. And so, again, as you unlock and keep on playing through different stages, you can buy this license. And you can see that clearly you do need to buy the 100 license in order to move on to the next stage. And you do get a lot of those rusted screws. And the rusted screws, remember, mainly drop from obviously picking up the enemies that you find in the phase shift. Now, in terms of this key item, the old key, and this is obviously for level 3 VC Grasta for Ash Tier. You can hold off on that, but the old key you will want if you want all the items in the dungeon. And just like the Underworld and the Future Guerrilla, as you save and play more through, you'll have enough. It's just at the very beginning, if you want to unlock everything, it's going to be difficult. So there you go. You bought the Hunter's License, and you can show that person the first time, after which the very next visit, you'll be able to unlock that next part. And so in our next run through, we are able to go into the mid layer where it opens up a number of different shops as well. And so I'll just show you a quick rundown of what you can buy. Again, the currency is mainly going to be those golden screws, which only show up as rare areas. You can buy specialized pieces of, these are for reforging your high-end weapons such as Otherlands or other things. And the rusted and golden screws will be of much use in these areas. It's going to be a very long grind, I will say. And of course, if you're playing with your green keys and you're using them anyways on this newest dungeon, you'll eventually get there. But I don't remember it being so painfully slow to grind in this one versus, for example, the Underworld or Future Guerrilla. That being said, I could be totally wrong in my recollection. And again, you can see that you can use either the rusted screws or the golden one is obviously your shortcut to it. I would advise not to use your first 2 golden screws. You should use them for the secret area, which is to buy the old key. It will cost you 2 golden screws. And you can see the train conductor we were just talking to. You will eventually be able to unlock that as you play through. And you'll also need the upgraded steam to blow through that area, which, like I said, you can probably look up on the AE Wiki because my clips are all convoluted. If you've been watching my videos, you'll know that I don't really enjoy the new open area exploration. It doesn't feel linear to me, and so I kind of did a lot of everything all at once. And so, unfortunately, for the sake of recording videos, it's very difficult to show everything when, you know, in chapter 89 I found some, in chapter 90 I found some, and so on and so forth. So I apologize for that ahead of time. Okay, so in our third area, this is the Tree of Life, and just like the other two areas, you can actually buy shortcut items. So you can see those exclamation marks. They will allow you to kind of bypass certain mobs or certain shortcuts in order to explore the map more freely. Again, 4 treasure chests, none of which will have any chant scripts. But they will have materials. One of the 4 will have, for example, a crafting material. The other 3 should have fragments or something like that. Nothing too massive. And just like always, I do advise killing all the mobs, at least in the beginning, until you can craft and level 10 one or more of your gear, depending on which one. And like I mentioned earlier, each area is exclusive in materials. So, you know, this area will be for the ring, and like I said, the forge is for the necklace, and the forest is for the bracelet, which is also annoying. Again, can't remember if that was the case in the past. It just feels like this is going to be a much more painful grind than previous. So again, you can see that the mobs are a little bit different here. The birds are resistant to Garyu's fire attacks. However, with Suzette, you can blast through, being that wind attacks or pierce attacks do work on flying enemies. So for most of these horrors, if you can manage, using an AF would be obviously better. However, you might be wanting to save that AF for the boss as well. So don't use fire, it absorbs it. So just staff slam with Garyu if you're using the same team, and a Dragon Assault should take care of things quite nicely. Again, if you are going into the phase shifted version, those enemies are tougher, and the smog or oil, or for example some of those environmental effects, they are much more annoying, where you can either do things like miss more often, or you can't see the enemy's HP bar. Gets a little bit difficult. Note that there's another sparkling area. There's one in each of the 3 areas, and you will need the old key to unlock all 3, which I'll show you also later on in the video. So just my first run through this area, killing everything along the way. I do find that 0 MP from Alter Tuva really does help quite a lot in managing your MP, especially if you are doing multiple fights. Now, if you want to just kind of shortcut it and just kill a few along the way, you can certainly do so, especially if you are committing your keys here. Just be aware that obviously you'll be much slower in getting the gear or the upgraded gear as you play. And this boss, Nidhog, which obviously if you've already played through the main story, this is the final boss in chapter 92. This one's pretty difficult. It does have a counter effect. It can't be blasted through with one shot of Garyu, and so it'll attack with those flames of perdition, which can do a number on your team. So again, be warned that these boss fights are no joke. Prepare accordingly, and if you can, blast it down, burst it down with an AF. See, even the end of turn has a random lightning bolt that stuns. So it takes your boss out of your unit out of the fight, and it counters. You can see the counterattack symbol on the boss, and then establishes magic zone. I think it only counters magic attacks, to be fair, but maybe you should read the description of the boss's statuses. I really should do that more often. I guess I've gotten used to kind of walking right through content. I haven't really been reading the description, and so it's a good habit to do that if you can. And finally, we do finally burst it down. I'm sure the one Dragon Assault would have handled it, but certainly speaking, I think a bar must be a lot easier. And I would say that with at least the final 2 bosses. The first 2 bosses, the one in the forest and in the steel forge, very easily handled with one blast of Horai Jewel and Inferno. The other 2, not so much. And of course, just a reminder, if you can get to 360 Light or Shadow, that would be best to get all the rewards. Okay, so for our final area that we're exploring in terms of the dungeon itself, like I said earlier, it's very similar to buying those mural fragments or satellite stadium tickets from both of those earlier dungeons. You need 30 rusted screws. Not really sure if it's worth it or just to save up and buy other items instead. I think both methods do work. However, if you are low on chance, this probably is your only way to get it, albeit at a very low rate. And there are 4 chests here. The first one has fragments, and the other 3 actually have materials that you would normally use for upgrading or buying those newest gear in this dungeon. And the good thing about each of the 3 chests is that they are all unique to each of the 3 areas. So this is a nice little way to kind of bolster your inventory of things that you would like to upgrade. And don't forget the final chest. There's a Jadeite. Not sure of the odds of a chance script. Okay, so for the final boss of the 4 areas, again, you've seen 2 plus this one, and of course, my first video had the first boss. Just burst this one down, nice and easy. I wasn't sure how much HP we're expecting, so I did use a 1-turn AF. So, there you go. But you can clearly see that 1 hit wasn't enough. You needed a couple rounds, so that's why I say that without an AF, you will probably have the train counterattack, which we don't really want to see because not sure if it's do or die or anything like that, but I just want to end the fight nice and easy there, and that was done for us. Same garbage, no treatises, or of course opuses you can't get here, but certainly codexes and treatises would be nice to get. And I finally did unlock the upgraded blowing device to get access to the store, and by going in you have another shop. The shop has exclusive gear that you can only get here. You can only get 1 copy of each, again similar to Future Garrelia or the Future Garrelia and Underworld. So again, same thing. These ones only use specifically golden screws, so you will be trying to farm that a lot. Okay, so in our final section of the video, we did already buy the 3 different pieces of armor: smoke drift necklace, bracelet, and ring. And I'm going to upgrade them all to 1 level of hazy sky. Okay. And don't forget, if you haven't been keeping up with gear, it is hard to kind of plus 10 everything. I'm not even sure if it's necessary. However, I'm going to eventually do that. So you can clearly see that the effects are pretty nice. Physical resist up and poison, stun, and sleep resist up as well. Not sure if it's better than Moonrealm gear, for example, but I think these ones are still useful to have, and I don't know if the percentages are going to be a lot better or not. And finally, got my second rare area in the first area, so that we can buy that old key. And in every subsequent run, we do have to buy, go into each of the areas in order to unlock each of these treasure chests. So you'll need 3 additional runs regardless. As you can see from the icon there, it is these are all Sidekick gear. And so hopefully I can show you on the map if you've neglected it or if you weren't sure what these are for. But of course you want to collect everything, right? So there's no need to leave it. I actually didn't even notice this one until I realized there should be 1 in each area. So they're not that, they're quite subtle regardless of whether or not they sparkle or not. But if you kind of get used to the game where you know that there's some in different areas, then you might as well go back to all 3. And just like all Sidekick equipment, it can be upgraded. However, they are more to play around with weather, environmental, or ground effects. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.